Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lineup with special guests here. But first, let's take a look at our weather, brought to us by Gulf Coast Air Conditioning. Drew Pollard and the hard-working crew up there keeping us warm in this cold weather we're having. Speaking of weather, highs only going to be 55 today, lows 43. Our water temperature is hanging in there around 65 degrees. So it got low last week, early part of last week, and it stayed down between 64 and 65. So that's about where it should be. That's seasonal. River readings, I don't have our river readings this morning. We'll get them to you tomorrow. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. That's something good to look at now. It's really dropping out strong this morning. It's going to be, actually the low tide is at 8:03, so it's dropped out. So it's going to start coming in, and high tide is coming in all day. With 5:45 this afternoon, we're going to be high tide. So you're going to have a good, strong incoming tide. Plus the wind now is coming out of the southeast today. So that's going to keep it moving up there a little bit too. So good day to fish if you love to fish your incoming tide. All right, we're going to take a break, come right back with our special guest. Okay, welcome back. Bill Allen, what's going on?
Hey, West, I'm good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And I know
it's already late in the year. Haven't been halfway through January, but.
Well, y'all had a good break.
Oh, yeah.
You got to do a little bit of golfing.
I did. Jim Lewis and I and our wives went to Kiowa Island in South Carolina.
Okay.
And that's where the Ocean Course is, where they play a PGA event. And we got to play 3 of the most beautiful golf courses I've ever seen. But I'll tell you what, that area up there, it's just below Charleston. Of course, I picked up the phone. I talked to a couple of guides up there. That whole place is marsh. I mean, everything is marsh and backwater. Mm-hmm. Wherever you're driving, wherever you're looking, the golf course is on it, and it's, they talk about just a spectacular red fishing. A lot of sight fishing, where you can see for miles where there's nothing but grass, sticking up and trails through it. Uh-huh. So all those pictures you see that's, several feet in the tall grass with the tail sticking up, mm-hmm. That's what the whole place looks like. So needless to say, Jim and I, and maybe Greg, are going to be planning on going and spending a few days with some of those guys up there.
That would be a fun trip.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, I was driving me crazy. It was beautiful.
I've often wondered in those areas like that with all that marsh around it, then you have the golf courses, and do they have trouble with deer coming out there? Or
there are deer. Kiowa Island, when you enter on that, I mean, it's a real nice place. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's extremely nice place. And there are deer all over the golf course. They're walking on the beach there on the ocean part. Okay. You see them in people's yard. There's deer everywhere up there.
So you're playing golf, looking at deer, looking for redfish.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's not bad.
Pretty much. Yeah, we had a great time. We went over New Year's and spent 4 or 5 days up there and knew some people up there. Jim's wife, Carol, has some family that has a house there, so we had rented one near there. But, it was a blast. It was fantastic.
Well, did you get to squeeze any kind of outdoor fishing or hunting in? Or?
No.
I mean,
no.
Once you got back here, I knew about a trip and all.
Talking to those guides up there, though, we were real tempted. In fact, the one day we had where we really weren't playing golf, there was a wind that's when that big storm came through, New Year's, and there was a wind about 40 miles an hour, so it wouldn't have panned out for us. But that's an area that we'll be going back to.
That's all along the Atlantic coast. It's just always been full of ducks and
man, that is just beautiful up there.
What about when you got back here though? Have you been able to get out in the woods or on the water much?
Yeah, with schedules being what they are, with my two sons and grandsons, we had to put off our annual Howard's Creek trip till last weekend before last?
Yeah.
And we went down on Friday and came out on Monday. We had to deal with some high water and stuff like that. But as usual, I mean, we had a great time. It included running trot lines and other things. But there is a pile of water down on the Brothers River.
We've been talking about it. You know, it gets like that in wintertime, and if you don't go down there a lot, you just don't realize what an effect it has on everything. When you get high water, it's high water, and you just the fish is messed up, the hunting's messed up.
Yeah, there's no land. I mean, you know, there's very little land out on the Brothers River itself. You know, out of Howard's Creek. You know, either way you can find, you know, some land there. But if you start going into to Bierman's or Harrison's or any, you know, Smokehouse, any of those places down there, land is a rare sight.
And also, we're talking about this the other day on the phone. You know, I give the reading for Bluntstown, but it takes a couple of days before it gets down to the Howard Creek and the lower end. So a lot of times, you know, you don't know the effect of it.
Yeah, at the Howard's Creek area where, you know, the houseboat, where Bill's houseboat is, where we've spent, you know, many days. But it takes about 3 days for it to get there. And we were on the edge when we went down there. You know, it was the highest point of that whole section down there is when you go into Bierman's and go down and it splits, there's a point that comes out that's really high. And, you know, it was water level when we got there, and that I knew from the charts and that, you know, we had 3 days, and it was going to 15.9. You know, flood stage, what they call flood stage down there is 17 feet. So the morning we left, we had almost, you know, stayed at the party too long. The water was coming up into the campsite. I mean, that's an area where normally if you pull up, you got a 6 or 7 foot river there. You know, it bank's 8, 9 feet high there. So, but it was coming into the camp. So we left the minute we could. Somebody's already called.
Okay, we're going to take a break while he answers the phone. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Bill took care of business and everything while we're doing a break. Actually, his wife was called and had to make sure you're going to do some of your chores today.
You know, it's early. She's making sure I'm on the right start.
Early.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're good about getting the pictures, and you usually send them to us, but now you're going to present them.
I'm not as good as Donna'd like me to be about it, but Austin, you know, helped out this year. Yeah, we just got some.
So we're camping. Here we are.
Yeah, this first one is just, you know, when we first got there setting up camp. That tent right there is the one Dalton and I stay in. That's the one that, you know, me and the boys take to, or will be taking to the mountains for our fly fishing trip. You can put that tent up in less than a minute. These new things, you don't have to do anything with poles. It just pops up. But that's Dalton in the background there with the Panhandle Outdoors shirt on.
I see him. Look at there.
And he's the chief woodcutter, and that's my youngest and middle grandson, who are the chief wood haulers at this point. But and that's where Austin and the two kids. Two kids stayed, and then our oldest grandson started college this year.
No way.
So he didn't get down there till that night. We had to go pick him up about 9 o'clock at the landing.
That's the boat ramp. Okay, listen, now tell folks sort of where you are.
Well, we're right there where you where the split is at Bierman's, where you know, you can go either way, and that's the highest point, and it's like I said, what you're looking at there started to get water in it the morning that we left. But that's, again, my two grandsons hauling wood. But you can see there that first morning, we were bundled up pretty good. That's my two sons and my youngest grandson in Dalton's boat. And it was cold that first morning, but I mean, you look at it, it's just gorgeous blue skies down there. We had a great time. That's them bundled up. That's the same one. But this is just some of the cooking aspect of the camp, which of course is important. We got all the fryers and camp chef and everything there. That's really, that's my oldest grandson who started college.
Okay, so you got it all set up. You got your cooker back there. You got your
yeah.
prep table.
if you see the Coleman light that's back there between the two cookers, that's on one of those trees where the light's on top, and then you got two hookups for it, so we only have to carry one gas bottle.
You know, on that fly fishing trip we took up there to North Carolina, we were talking about the importance of having that tree.
Greatest invention in the world.
Oh, that's smart.
Greatest invention in the world. That and the guy that invented those filaments that lights up that lantern. You know. You touch it and you fall apart, but yet you could flame it up. So, and this is again just more cooking. That's a general view of the camp. But and this is where we spend a ton of time. That's my son Austin and his 3 sons. But that's a little 22 that we've got. We've got a couple of those, and we've got and they're all, including Austin, started this way. When Dad and I were taking them, but we start with a pellet gun and start teaching them how to handle it and holding it. We graduated from that to the 22, and then we've got an old single shot 410 that's been in the family for I couldn't even begin to know how long. And each one of them started with that, basically in the camp and setting up different targets for them. And then when they get proficient enough and safe enough for that, then I started buying them 20 gauges and. But that's the progression.
That's the sequence.
That's the sequence. But I guarantee you, over the years, they put thousands of 22 rounds and 177 pellets out there. But anyway, that's been the progression for all of them that you see in that picture, and Dalton too. But that's Austin and his middle son when they were taking off to go work the bank there.
Are they going squirrel hunting?
And we're squirrel hunting. That's right. Now that's what I was talking about. This is a look at the camp, and this bank is normally 8 or 9 feet above the water.
The creek is rising,
and it is there. And again, it had started to come in. And Winston, do you remember when we were down there at the houseboat and we were running lines?
Yes.
When the water was so high that we drove across that.
Yes.
That's been a few years ago when it was that high, but. That's coming out. Dalton had some engine trouble, but undaunted.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. So, I had to drag them down there and drag them back. But we used the trolling motor during, we'd take them to a spot, and then they'd use the trolling motor hunt. You couldn't walk.
We've been on both ends of that rope.
We've been on both ends of that rope many times. That's Easton, my youngest grandson, with the BB gun there.
All right.
And he graduated to the 410.
All right, check it out.
That's him with a couple. I think his brother killed, and that's Trace, my middle grandson, who is. And I'll tell you something with that he's going to graduate to the 20 gauge next year, but he is a squirrel killing machine. He shoots when he's got a shot. I'm real proud of him. Now that Coke can's got a few holes in it. That's where we were teaching Easton to shoot, and again set up with Trace shooting that 22, and and that's Easton. That's his first 410 shot. So
cool.
You can't see it. We got some stuff hanging there for him to shoot at, but and that's my boat, and I'd been out with my middle and my youngest grandson.
And it had been water still rising?
And it's just rising the entire time.
That's pretty pictures.
And I think that's it. But when we left, the water was coming into the camp. And I mean, I love to, and I've always done it. I'd rather shoot them, walking. I'd rather go and then all the boys I've taught, to do that. And my 2 sons are good at it. But this past 2 years.
It's been too high.
Couldn't do it. There's no place to walk. But we managed to kill enough squirrels to eat, and of course there was no shortage of food. We had plenty of food, but we had a great time.
Had a good fire. Had a good campfire going.
Yeah, amazingly, Dalton found some good wood. Some people had camped there before and left some, so. We were able to put that together, but we had a great time as usual, and we've been, my dad, Dad and I went, and then started taking the boys when they were 5 years old, I think, and then so as the grandkids hit 5, now we got a full slate there.
That's cool.
So,
and it's talking about previous campers leaving the firewood. you know, that's just something, a tradition of the what I call the old tent campers when they have, and sometimes these campsites are pretty popular, so whoever gets their first camps, and then if you don't use all the firewood, just leave it, and the next people get it. And
Absolutely.
I've seen that over and over again.
And we have, one of the first things I do is hang one of those big heavy-duty trash bags. And the stuff that we can't burn, of course, the kids are constantly in the fire. They're trying to burn everything, but you know, and that's what you do, right? But the stuff we can't do, we can't burn, goes into that trash bag, you know, and then we haul it out of there. And I can't stress enough that, you know, if you're down there, if you're camping, if you're doing whatever, just leave it a little bit cleaner than you got there.
You know, people have got, in that area, a long time ago, it used to be pretty rough and all, but now it's got a point where everybody's cleaning up after themselves.
They are, and you don't see as many, you still see some, but you don't see as many bush hooks hanging. And, you know, I mean, the way Bill makes them now, of years of research and development, the way that I make them, those orange ones that we use, you know, you can take those down and take them with you. Just leaving them up there is, you know, it's a hazard. And I've said it 1,000 times, but, you know, I wear one of those inflatable, self-inflatable jackets all the time now, and especially since, you know, a good friend of ours passed away from a boating accident, but and I should have been better the whole time. But I wear it constantly now, and it's hooked up to the kill switch. But man, when that water's that high, there's stuff floating all over the place out there. You really need to pay close attention to where you're running, and I mean, there's just logs and trees and everything floating around. So.
We're gonna wrap it up on this commercial here. We're gonna come back and wrap up our camping trip. We had a great time they had. Be right back. Okay, welcome back. Sitting here with our sidekick, Bill Allen, and we had a great camping trip with the family and all. I know y'all enjoyed it. Before we get back to Bill, let's take a look at our fishing game times today, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers in Port St. Joe. We're looking at one time today, 11:35 to 1:35, and we'll wrap up the camping trip by saying, like you were saying at the close right there, last segment, wear those life jackets, especially around the river.
Yeah, and of course, you know, every time you see one of the kids in the boat, they've got it on. I think most of us do that, but you know, Bill now and Greg, I mean, those things aren't expensive. You can get them at Blue Water, you can get them wherever, and it's a lot safer. When you lose somebody close to you, you know, you should take heed of a lot of things, but that's one thing. I won't get in without it now, whether I'm by myself or with somebody, doesn't matter. And attach it to the kill switch.
I know. I used to know one or two people that got in trouble. Now I've known, I can count this many people. Some of them lost their lives, and some of them saved their lives by just that simple thing right there.
And I don't care how great a swimmer you are if you're knocked out.
Well, that and the hypothermia is going to set in so quick with water temperature around 65 degrees.
That's another thing too. And I have been in that water.
Oh man!
I exited the boat about I don't know, 40-something years ago with Bill and his dad when we were squirrel hunting on an extremely cold day, and that was not as much fun as you think it is.
That helps you learn the lesson quick.
Well, maybe. But I don't know how quick.
We got to squeeze in some time now. The next 2 or 3 weeks, we've got to squeeze in some time and head back down to Abercrombie boat ramp and go get on St. Mark's, and we got to.
Yeah, two issues, and I've talked to some people, and Bill, who knows a couple of guys, there's usually one guy that's kind of our bellwether because he goes early. And it's just not been cold enough. And, you know, the way this water's been running, you know, when the river's that high, it's no good down there. So, you know, it's dropped off now. It's dropped probably 3 feet from when I was down there just the weekend before last. So, you know, that's good, but I mean, we're going to make a trip down there just to see. But we're talking about that Goat Island area, you know, and the flats and the tons of places down there.
And it's going to be good within a week or two because we've had some cold weather now. The water temperature has dropped, and it's rain. Once everything sort of settles out, when the river starts getting down there, within a week or two, there's going to be some good fishing.
And I think it's probably supposed to be a pretty steady fall with the river. But you know, it's been the trout and probably more than the redfish. I mean, we've talked about it before. It's been a little confusing for them, you know, because do they go up in the creeks, and then the water temperature's not that much different. So, you know, we work, you know, the edges first now, and then go back into the flats.
We were talking about that. People on East Bay and West Bay, and also over in Saltacha Bay, back a month or so, they're still catching them on the flats.
Yeah, and then, you know, they're probably still out, you know, in the good sunshiny days, and that mud heats up, you know, quicker. So, you know, it's just not enough really to force them up into the creeks. And I don't go to Crooked Creek anymore, because it's just, you know, that's the Alabama boat landing they put in up there, and there's so many people that you can't.
It's crowded.
And that thing scares me too anyway. I mean, it sits just like that. But when we used to have to really struggle to get up there, it wasn't so bad. But man, it's and I've caught a lot of trout. We've caught a lot of trout up there in years past. But it's hard, you know. And the steam plant doesn't put out hot water anymore.
No.
I fished that with my grandsons just to see. We did it to get out of. There's a lot of wind blowing, but we were really dying to go fishing. It would have been nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. There's no difference. I kept watching the bottom machine, and there's no difference in the water temperature.
It's amazing what electronics has helped us over the years to do those kind of things.
Man,
we're about to run out of time again.
Well,
we've got a lot more.
As usual. As usual.
Well, we'll be seeing you soon.
And,
thanks for getting up this early and coming on. And that was really like a
we ought to think about going this afternoon the way this tide is.
Okay. We're talking about that.
We might have to go out and do some research.
We can research. All right. Thank y'all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. We appreciate it. Always great to have Bill with us. And y'all do something good today for your fellow man. Enjoy the great outdoors and share the outdoors with other folks. And God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.